tell something about the file field for the media?
Yeah, so I just started the broadcast. So this is the Drupal usability reading for June 6th, 2017. And we collected some topics ahead of time. We wanted to talk about the file field redesign on top of media entities as part of the media initiative, to put a new experimental install profile in the installer, and how is that going to look like for the sample content initiative, and possibly a code review and action links on the extend page for small screens. So I think, Sean, you can take it away for the file field redesign.
Yes, we ran into one issue on the add form for new media, or the widget, I believe, the file field widget for media entities. Like we wanted to recreate what Core is doing right now for file and image fields, and you can just add or select an image or a file, and you should automatically create a media entity instead of a normal file. That is working, only we ran into the issue that for media entities, you can have multiple types where a file could belong. So, for example, when you upload a PDF, it could be a document, or maybe just a regular file type. And after you upload the file, you should be able to select somehow in which of the types the file belongs. Besides that, a media entity can also have more fields that you might require for a media type, which also presents an issue, which was not there when we had just like regular files. And I have a screen of an installation set up where I can show, maybe if I can share my screen, what it looks like, what we have right now. Maybe that helps. Let's see if I can find that one. And what we were thinking about was that you, when you select a file, that you get a modal or something where you can, well, then select what type of media you want to add. And in the same modal, you might add some required fields. I have some trouble finding the screen I want to share. Okay, this is not working like I wanted it to. But does anybody have some ideas on how to solve this? That was basically my big question.
So do you have a demo of how it works so far? I think that would help with figuring out what's possible.
Yes, I wanted to share my screen, but I was a bit enthusiastic, thinking that would just regularly work. Why? Wait, maybe I can just share. Share it like this.
I can see your browser.
Yep, me too.
So you can still see what I'm doing?
Yeah, welcome to the Git.
Yes, so I have a screen set up right here.
Okay.
And I can just choose a file. And it will open a modal right now. So I have two media types set up that accept my text file. Then I can just choose one. And then I get shown the media entity form. And there is only a required title right now, but there could be more fields added by someone where you have to fill in those fields right now. and then you can add it, and then it gets shown in here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the multiple file field, and the same goes for the single file field. So you just add one, and then it gets added.
So what happens if you take multiple files in the media files thing?
Yes, I can try that as well. So then this is my first one, test one. Publish it, and then automatically I get a new form for the second file.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is test two. And then they both get added here.
Oh.
So this is how far we got. Only, yeah, I'm not sure about the model because we wanted to recreate what the core is already doing, but we have some limitations. So if we want, yeah, to bring a new workflow to people, then we have to get it right, and that's why it is a very good idea to ask you guys.
Yes, thanks for the demo.
No problem.
Is it set up like this that if there's only one media type for a certain extension, then it skips that step?
Yes, it is. So it basically works like when you just add content and you go to this link. Now you get shown two types, but if you only have one node type, for example, you also go directly to the node add form. And for media, it works the same.
Okay.
I think there's also some efforts, or at least there is an issue to auto-generate the title for the media.
Yes, there is.
So if that would be the only required field, then that part of the form would not show up either. So the ideal case is that you only have one media type that accepts that type of file, and you don't have any other required fields. Then there's no modal involved at all, even in the current implementation, I guess.
But,
is that true?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that one because like out of the box, when you install Drupal 8, we can make it so that you don't need to fill in a title and that gets auto-created.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's flexible, so people can add fields, and that's what media entity is basically for, I guess. So you can have at least one of the features is that you can have it fieldable, and so you never really know when people will have it fieldable. And of course, we can check that, but then you could end up with a different workflow for different fields depending on if you added a required field to your media entity or not. And I have a feeling that if you're going to change the workflow anyway, then you should at least make it consistent and not have it depend on too many settings. But yeah, I really want to hear you guys' opinion on that.
I understand we're setting this up in the most flexible way. I'm looking from a simple user perspective, and then I think they want the least amount of interaction possible. So yeah, what Gabor is saying, maybe it should be possible in some way that you can set up for a field that those steps can be skipped if everything is auto-generated. But maybe that's an improvement for later. Could you show again, please, the first step in the model?
Sure. This one.
Yeah. So I think at least we need some explanation about what's happening here. I don't know if that clutters the screen too much, but if I see this for the first time, I'm not sure what I need to do here.
This very much feels to me as though it should be a form element of some sort.
Could you elaborate?
And would you have that as a form element in the modal, or?
Yeah. I mean, like what you've got here is good.
Mhm.
In my opinion, it's just like it's kind of a multi-step wizard almost sort of approach. And if you had a form element here, you would have places to like hang explanations about what it is we're looking at, instead of, you know, allowing the user to just kind of like click and discover and hope. So like having it forward to, because this is, you know, as you showed about like adding nodes earlier, you know, the other page, the next page would just appear here normally if there were only one. And that's fine. But I guess like my initial reaction to this is we're asking the user a question, and instead we're showing them a whole bunch of links. So like to me, my initial reaction was to expect a form here.
Maybe we can also add like a button there for like a real wizard, so something like next step or whatever to help guide the user. How about that?
I'm thinking if it's a form, then it would be a select or a checkbox and a next or submit button. I think now they're just links, so that is just one click. That's a good thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't need to have a button if it's a form, yeah.
Yeah. So making it a form, requires an extra step, and it's already a lot of steps. The first thing that should really be fixed is that there's a question in the gray bar, I think. That one, I think.
Which media type would this file be used?
Yeah, something like that. What is required from the user here? Why do they need to pick something?
Yeah, so that's probably the first thing we need to solve, is like give them an explanation on why they can even select something when they just uploaded a file.
Yeah, something like we detected multiple possible media types, select the appropriate one, or something as a description, and maybe as a title, just select media type or something like that. But yeah, we really need to guide the user a bit more, I think.
It sounds
and then the less amount of interaction, the better, I think.
Yeah, I like that idea. I don't know who said it, but that maybe you should be able to configure on the widget if you maybe want to skip this at all.
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to back up from the state you're at on the screen there as well? So I was sort of imagining from the descriptions being given here that you'd have a select list perhaps. So you can ask the question for the label for the select. You select document or file, and then that would load this form below that. Is that what you're imagining? Because then that would give you the option to change. That would allow you to change your mind about which option you went for, especially if you're sort of prodding around trying to work out what it is, even with the help text on the screen.
So with the Ajax, for example, you just select one, the form below refreshes, select the other, it refreshes.
Yeah.
Well, that would be intuitive, I think.
Did you mean that we shouldn't show it in a modal, or just be able to?
Well, if you picture the current screen, just think one form element above it, and that's the media type. And when it loads the first time, the form here is not loaded. Once you pick one of the types, the form is shown.
Ah, like that.
So we just have one form, not an extra step, actually.
Yeah.
But the label for that select list could be quite verbose if you needed it to be. You know, if you needed to describe exactly what's going on at this step. Yeah,
I like that idea.
It at least eliminates one step, or visually. You have to select something, of course.
Yeah, I think it feels more fluid. If I picture it in my mind, I think, yeah, okay, it's logical. Or maybe we can even keep this No, well, maybe it makes it too difficult to just show all the fields that are there for each type. So maybe you have a basic form, and once you select it, it shows other fields that are specific for the type, and maybe that's too complex.
Yeah, I think there's some discussion on, do we need all those fields by default for adding media, like the author, or when it's authored, and the alias.
Yeah,
And
I as a user would expect it just inherited from the parent entity.
Yeah, we could try to skip as much fields as we can get away with, at least for the widget that tries to mimic what core already does.
Are these fields controlled by form display?
I think it is.
Because I'm guessing the reverse is true as well if you do want control.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it would be about setting defaults that might be a bit more opinionated.
2 form display modes for this. Say a modal version and a non-modal version.
Right, yeah.
So what also is quite strange is you just upload an image and it's possible to remove it from your media entity.
That's also a good question. Oh wait, maybe I just removed it on the file one. What happens when you stop? So I at least remove some fields. So that works. But yeah.
Yeah, I think for a new file that you just uploaded, you don't want to remove the file here again, and I think you won't want to add a revision log message because it's not a new revision; it's just the first one. I think this screen can be much cleaner, and two view modes could definitely help that, and still give people the possibility to modify what they want.
Yeah, so we could take a look at a separate form display. And also, I think the remove button, I totally agree with you on that. Because when you save it here, you have a remove button in this form. And then you have another remove button here as well. And they do different things. This one just removes the media entity from the article, and the other one removes the file from the media entity.
Yeah, is the media entity directly deleted if it's not linked to another document, or?
I guess when you remove it from the media entity, then it gets deleted. But when you just remove this media entity from the article, then the media entity doesn't get deleted.
Okay.
That's the goal with media.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, I've heard it multiple times that people find it really strange, these operations here, and you open a modal and there's another remove, and yeah.
Well, a remove
people use it
that
for the
delete
first time.
should be.
Sorry?
A remove that delete should be called delete, right? So it's also about the naming of those labels then.
So remove is only detach here or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would maybe also make sense if you call it detach.
Sean, was that first step? Could you just spring that open again, the choose file, please? And then obviously select the file.
This one.
Yeah. So the file name is actually in the title bar there, isn't it? I wonder if could it just stay there when you go through to that? We're describing this next. You're not going to want that to move, are you? So then, does it become redundant when it's listed? When it's listed as a file in the form.
So when we go to the next step, we just change the title here to add and then file name, and then we can maybe not show the file field at all here.
That's what I was wondering. I don't know if that stacks up in terms of its functionality, but yeah, so add file name, because that's what you had on the previous. because if this works from Ajax, then you wouldn't necessarily expect that to change too much, and then it would get suffixed as document perhaps.
I think it also is more in line with what Core is already doing. Like being able to remove the file here doesn't make too much sense, I guess. So I'm sure we can do it. So it sounds like a logical thing to do, maybe, yeah.
Would even be more awesome if you start typing a name there that your header automatically updates.
I wouldn't rely too much on that header. I notice myself not seeing what's in there. So as an example, we have another issue to use a modal for the confirmation screens if you want to delete something. And then that whole message, are you sure you want to delete, is in that header. And it just looks weird.
Yeah, I've seen
I wouldn't rely too much on actual information in that header.
But then we need to do something else, because when you're adding multiple files here, the only way to make a distinction between them is the header. Say I'm adding 10 files, I don't know which order they are added, and then I'm at file 3 or something, and I need to change something, and yeah, if the name is pre-filled, then you have some indication. But if we remove the file remove button, then I think it's hard for the user to understand what's going on.
There's one suggestion that I heard, I'm not sure when and where, that we just skip the modal and try to put the fields in the regular widget. And it's a little bit like when you upload a file of like an image, then your alt and title fields are added in here as well. And that kind of works as long as you don't put 15 required fields on your media entity. But since it's the default widget that we ship with a fresh install, and you can probably add other widgets if you put too many fields in there, maybe we can get away with that too. What do you think about that?
It's like inline entity form module for 7, right? Or 8 also. People know that.
I'm not really picturing the scenario. I'm not seeing it. So.
But
I have an image field here. Let me just grab an image. It's the one that doesn't upload automatically. I just need to save it first. Okay. The file was too large. Like this. Here you have like the title field could be added to media. It's the same way the alt text is added here into the image widget. But it only works for a couple of fields. I don't see that you can add like 15 more here.
Okay, yeah. I guess that's was it Thunder or Lightning that did something like that, right? I remember your demo from Drupal Jam, where it basically did an inline form for the item you were uploading.
Yeah, there was one that had like at least an alt text or whatever, maybe a title attached to the widget. So
then again, knowing Drupal should be able to handle other cases than simple ones.
Yeah.
It just depends on what we want the default widget to do. Like you can still add more complex widgets for more complex use cases, and the default install, when you just have a basic image and file media entity and media type with no fields at all except the title, which we can probably auto-generate. It's we can.
Yeah, that's smooth.
So that's one of the ways that we could approach it. Just try to skip the modal and just do it something like the image widget.
Do we then? Is this also a case where you don't have to choose between a media type then?
Well, then we have to do the type selection in here as well. So we can but we can also do that with Ajax, I think.
I think it can be becoming really difficult for the user. I like about the model that the user is focused about towards one task. Adding the image, going through a series of questions, and if you just upload, say, 10 images and your screen refreshes and you have a lot of fields, yeah,
you have to choose the type 10 times, and that will work better when you just do one file at a time, probably.
Well, the inline thing would be relatively new, right? As a pattern in core, I guess we can auto-generate new tags by just filling them out, but that's very simple, relatively. I'm not sure. Can anybody think of something similar already existing in core? Because for now, that would, for me, be an argument a reason to use the modal.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you can also add required fields on tags, and I don't think we expect that to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think Drupal would be able to generate those fields, the tags from the autocomplete field if they would have required fields.
Interesting.
Or I don't know what would happen there. So I don't think we expect that situation there.
I never tried that.
No.
Yeah, so it's fun. But I think it's more likely that media would have fields on them and some may be required.
Yeah.
I guess.
And the evil question, what does WordPress do?
They don't put fields on their media, I guess.
Well,
they have
they have.
Excuse me, sorry. I think they have a modal window.
Do or don't?
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah, I think they do as well. You are even allowed to crop and stuff, and I don't know.
I was going to ask that question, which could be my ignorance here, so sorry if it is. Are you able to, does this functionality allow you to, but if you want to choose, if you're referencing an existing file, I'm just thinking about the modal window, is that then you've got a common pattern if there's ever an instance where media is tying in with selecting files that already exist, but I could be way off track here.
Yeah, the eventual goal is to include the media library in core, which is it's an experimental module that's proposed for core. And that would provide you with a widget that allows you to pick from existing media or upload new media. And that's a later step in the media initiative because the shorter term goal is to be able to reproduce what files already do in core so that we can drop file fields and image fields in the standard profile. So hopefully going forward, we would not have file and image fields on our content types and on stuff in core, and we would use media fields for things and reproducing the existing core functionality. And then we can add the media library to extend the functionality to also be able to pick from existing files.
And I guess that media library will be in a modal, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be better to already use the modal now, and then our people are used to that modal, and then you just have the extra option of choosing an existing one or uploading a new one, and you're still in the modal feeling flow.
Good point. Let's train for modal so that expectation stays intact once we have a media library.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so
details of how the model works.
I think we have a lot to work with now.
Cool.
Then the only question that we probably will get asked is, how bad is it that we don't mimic what Core already does 100%? But I guess that we just have a different technical thing to deal with media being fieldable and having required items. And
I think
yeah,
I think I think the title auto generation would be quite key. And if you don't add more fields, and if you don't have multiple types for the same MIME type, then this should ideally fall back on not opening any modal, because you don't need to. But so that would be I think the eventual scenario, if that's possible. And then the simple case for a lot of sites that don't have additional fields on their media would be no modal at all.
should that be a setting then?
Can Drupal automatically figure it out? Or do you think it would be magic to like...
Well, if you have
fields
optional fields, how can Drupal know what you...
Yeah, I feel like when you have no modal at all, and you just add one field, and then you get a modal, that would probably feel too much like magic for the regular site builder. So if we at least, and maybe we can even turn it off by default, so you never get a modal, unless when you start adding fields, we can probably give some advice there to update the widget or something, maybe something like that.
There's no edit button, right? Once you've picked your files.
No.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise, my idea would be upload. If there are no important questions, just add them immediately, no pop-up, and you can click and edit if you want to. But okay, that's not there.
That's also something to discuss, but I guess that would be too complex for the first step right now.
The first thing I would do is experiment with the option that was proposed by, I don't know who did it, about the Ajax and the select, so that you just have one form, not multiple steps, and then you can pick your type and it automatically refreshes. I think that's already making it feel faster. Yeah, that you can do stuff faster and keep the header consistent.
Remove a lot of the unnecessary fields. Probably.
Yeah, and remove unnecessary fields and describe why people need to pick a type, and then I think we're already much further.
Do we have to think about, I mean, Core ships with 2 content types? Do we have to think about which default media type we ship, if at all? Because then we have control over.
Yeah, we ship with an image type and the file type.
Of course, we're recreating, yeah.
Yeah, so those are going to be there, which will probably not be a problem for most of the files, since images will probably automatically default to image and files will default to file. But yeah, once people figure out how to create media types, there will be cases where they do it.
So if you're mimicking how Core currently works, images also will have an alt field, which, right?
Yeah, the alt field will be, that will be attached to the file field here. So we can't just remove file. Good point.
Okay, the alt field is not on the media entity, but on the file itself.
Yeah.
Ah. That
Because
will make people crazy.
yeah, we didn't want to duplicate that.
No, I understand. But still, for people to understand that's something different again in an entity below that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that for the image widget, that will also be a thing. That you are going to add an alt field in the modal, and we can show it maybe on the regular form as well. But this will be attached to the file that is attached to the media entity. Okay, I think I have at least enough information to continue with the issue.
Yeah, take some steps and then come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yay. Yes.
Okay. I'm having troubles again. I just wanted to say about you were saying about removing some fields, that maybe instead of removing them, a good pattern would be to add like a field set or something and putting all the advanced fields inside the field set. I mean, not hiding them, but not removing them, but hiding them and simplify the form.
Yeah. Details in Drupal 8, field sets can't be hidden anymore.
Yeah, something like that. Just because I'm thinking that sometimes it can be just not a good idea to remove some information by default.
Yeah, but if it would be a view mode, separate view mode, form view mode, then people could configure it.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, it was just an idea. So.
Yeah, no, good idea.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, just one more point on the modal conversation. Does this end up getting used at all in the CK editor, potentially, as a button? Long term, obviously.
Yeah, in the long term, we do want to integrate media entities in CK editor, but we are not sure yet what the best approach is, since you do have like entity embed also for things like that.
Right, yeah.
So it's yeah, at some point you do want to embed media entities, but same could be said for embedding nodes in content or users or whatever. So I'm not sure if this is a real specific media entities problem, but that's only because
I think it's a problem of media entities so long as there is also the file upload feature in CK editor that creates file entities right now, and we are about to reproduce that with media as well sooner or later. I don't recall the position of that in the plan, but
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah. We definitely need to think about it soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least thank you for your time, and we will work on this and come back to you when we have something to show.
Yes, keep us updated. Nice work.
Sean, is there anything that you will hit soon and would still need design? As in, did we decide something, or did we not decide something yet that you will hit soon? So if people want to work on this, what to work on first?
I think the things that users will interact with are only the widgets for media entity right now. So we have this issue for the file widget, then we have an issue for the image widget, and then we have the more generic image of the widget where you can reselect images from the library. So those are probably the main three things that could use some design. And I think for the library, there's already a lot of work being done on the UX department. So basically this file widget and the image widget after that are I think the main things right now.
Mm-hmm. And within the file widget, anything specific that we hit on today that?
Yeah, well, the modals, but I think, yeah, if somebody could look at the modal interaction, now we can do it in one step and what fields to remove. That could really help.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if we have like the validation from the things we talked about in a design, and we can come to some conclusion in the issue before we start programming, that could probably save us some time.
Right. What other scenarios? You add one file, you add X files. There is no required fields, and there's required fields.
You have to select a type. You don't have to select a type.
Right. Needs type selection.
Yeah, and basically we have these three issues for file and image. I think those are the main ones.
This all plays with both files and then again with images. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Interesting matrix.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. So we don't have a lot of time left, but I think we wanted to look at the listing of experimental install profile.
Yes.
Because a product review of that is coming up on Thursday.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Then the thing is that we have this default installation profile, default installation page, and then we want to add the new demo site, the new demo profile, and there was this initial proposal. It's the three profiles, the three choices that you have. You have the standard, the minimal, and we are adding the demo for the out of the box initiative. And this design is doing is something that we already reviewed some months ago on I think it was in another UX meeting. And what I am doing here is just adding the experimental label in red, so it's clearer that it's an experimental thing. It's not just like the other ones, with a little bit of description, and I'm placing it under the other installation profiles. And I just added some variations that I think they are too much, too noisy to call them. Here is a label, a huge red label, and here is another variation of this label. So we come from here, and here's the proposal. Most people say that this one is the best one, and those are the differences, the other options. So what do you think?
So you would pre-select the experimental profile, or this just shows what happens when you selected the experimental profile?
We haven't talked about that. I think we should then pre-select something, or at least we should pre-select standard maybe, but it's just one.
Okay.
Do we want to take into account that there could be more than one experimental install profile?
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe we can have a section, right, a header that says experimental, and below that we show any
Okay.
experimental install profiles.
Okay.
But I mean, that's very forward looking or thinking, but and then maybe
it was my first idea also to have all the experimental profiles completely separated, but something that it's been talked already. I think, I don't know if it's already if there's a conclusion about it, but the idea is that when you install this demo profile, you will have like a time bomb that after 1 week or something like that, you will have a message saying that it's just a demo and you shouldn't use it anymore, or you shouldn't use in production sites.
Mm-hmm.
So having a message to load in this page maybe is too much information. But I was also thinking on adding this label, this title to separate them. I don't know what's the best.
Yeah, I think for now it would be good to just have the label on the actual install profile, so not have that section, but label the install profile itself. What I can imagine that happens if you choose one of the regular install profiles, you go to the next step. And if you choose an experimental one, we could have a modal that says, "Are you sure?" before it goes to the next step. All those. But that's all extending the actual screen that we are discussing, and the actual screen.
Yeah. So do you agree that this one is the best one? That these other ones are too obvious?
Is red the right color? Because red is error. It's not an error to choose a experimental profile. We're on a warning level here, I guess. If
Then I guess
do we
it's
need the yellow or the yeah.
So you're suggesting to change it, or just that the other one about to red?
Well, I notice a tendency to start using red just to have contrast or attention. But I think it's good to reserve red for actual error or security updates, let's say. And yeah, and not use red when we want to warn. what do people think? Maybe I'm too strict in trying to following some rule we made up ourselves, of course. But I mean, it doesn't look bad, of course, the experimental in red here.
But
It looks
probably
also good because there is red in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
But I think for production sites, you shouldn't use experimental stuff, right? So it's a very strong warning.
what do you mean is a very strong warning? I mean, it should be a very
It's not an
Orangey
error per
red.
se, but just a normal warning. Well, hey, you shouldn't do that. It's a bit more than that.
If you look at the normal module install page, there you also have like core, and it just has experimental sitting behind it in the same color. Just with the
On the extend page.
yeah, where you install modules.
Yeah, and then it gives you the warning later.
It just says experimental. It doesn't look like a warning at all. It's just experimental.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could keep it black, and then if you save and continue, show a warning, or is that what the extend page does?
I don't think you. Well, let me just try and install an experimental module then.
Inline form errors. Woo!
There's an normal message, a warning message.
Yeah, it gives you you need to confirm.
Experimental modules are provided for testing purposes only. Use at your own risk.
Yeah.
And we could maybe put that message in through Ajax or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. When you click it, show it immediately or something. But
So let me recap. You're saying to show just a gray, just like that, for example, level, and then on the next step, just showing the red or yellow or whatever.
Yeah, if you install a experimental module, you get the warning style, so it uses yellow.
Yeah.
I have it right here. If you look at my screen.
Yeah, click.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just something like this. You can show it above the.
That's more of like the tag style. Like we had a mock-up earlier that she had shown that had like a red tag, and this yellow background is more in like that vein. Because yellow text on like this much light color is going to just kind of fade away.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
But when you're thinking on this yellow, you're thinking on all this space in yellow also.
I guess we're thinking about. Let's see. If you have, you can see my sketch?
Yeah.
Okay. There's the default ones, and then we choose the experimental one, labeled as such. If you would select it, then it would show maybe this is an experimental install profile. Use at your own risk. As a yellow box before you would continue.
Yeah, it could even be done without Ajax, just hidden element and focus. So
I think that's what I hear Daniel or Sean suggestion.
I have another idea. Roy, you showed a while ago for this the updates page that there was an idea to group them with a different heading.
Mhm.
You remember?
Yeah, the supported of the the
so
covered.
what we also could
covered.
do is split those items and say 2 normal ones and then a heading experimental profiles are these, and then
Yeah.
something like that.
I suggested that here. It's possible, and then but.
Could there be different explanations as well? If if we're doing that in order to introduce more experimentals in the future, like Christina said, there's possibly going to be the time expiry for this demo that needs explaining possibly at some point as well.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to handle everything here. We just want to. I mean, and we don't know how scary our.
Yeah, sure.
Interesting it is to have a for people to have an experimental demo profile. So we have to find our own comfort in what we think we need to show in order for people to continue with the right expectations, at least set or indicated.
Okay.
I think what you show now is
this one, right?
Yeah,
Where
it's clean. When you first open the page, it's clean. When you click something, you immediately get feedback, so you won't miss it, I guess. But
yes,
for whatever it's worth, Roy, I really like this proposal of yours.
Sorry, Christina. do you think you can spend some time on this?
Okay, no problem. Could you upload these images?
Yeah, I will. Or you take a screen grab now.
Yeah, just did it. I think.
Okay.
Thanks for showing all the alternatives. Really helps for both of you.
Yeah. Pictures. Okay. All right, way past time.
Yeah, way past time.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks all for your input.
That was great. Thanks all for coming, and thanks for the great work and the great discussions. And if you have stuff that was not covered today, but you wanted to talk about it, we already have one topic for next week, Commerce Setup Wizard. And if you have more, then feel free to post in the channel, and we'll put it on the next week's agenda.
Bye, Roy.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.